Think back to the last time you had a really good, deep, stomach aching laugh. The kind of laugh where you could barely breathe, your eyes watered, and you had to lean against a wall just to stay upright. Chances are that laugh did not happen while you were watching a carefully polished, politically correct late night talk show. It probably happened in a dimly lit room, surrounded by your closest friends, right after someone absolutely demolished you with a brutal, hilariously accurate roast about your terrible taste in shoes or your questionable life choices. But lately, it feels like those moments are becoming endangered species. We have entered an era where humor is constantly audited, and comedy feels like it is walking on eggshells. Have we completely lost our ability to laugh at ourselves? Or did political correctness actually kill the art of the joke?
It certainly feels like comedy has been put through a corporate rinse cycle. Everything is sanitized, pre approved, and wrapped in bubble wrap. The tragedy of modern humor is that we have confused cruelty with intimacy. When you roast your friends, it is not an act of hostility. It is actually the ultimate demonstration of trust. You are saying, I know you, I see your flaws, and I love you enough to make fun of them to your face. When we eliminate that, we do not get a kinder society. We just get a colder, more distant one, where everyone is terrified of saying the wrong thing.
That is a fascinating way to look at it. A trust fall, but with words. If you do not trust the person, a roast feels like an attack. But when the foundation of friendship is there, it is like a badge of honor. It is almost as if the willingness to take a hit and throw one back is what cements the bond. If we are constantly walking on eggshells around our friends, are they really our friends? Or are they just associates we share a polite space with?
Exactly. True intimacy requires vulnerability, and vulnerability means letting people see the ridiculous parts of who you are. If we only show each other our pristine, curated, politically correct selves, we are just presenting advertisements of who we want to be, not who we actually are. The best comedy has always lived in the gap between our ideals and our messy reality. When you close that gap by banning the messiness, you do not just kill the comedy, you kill the genuine connection.
So why did we get so fragile? How did we transition from a culture that celebrated the good-natured ribbing of the classic roast to one where a slightly misplaced word can trigger a public relations crisis? Is it because we have moved so much of our communication online where context goes to die?
That is a massive part of it. In the real world, a joke comes with facial expressions, tone of voice, shared history, and the warmth of a room. Online, all of that is stripped away. You are left with flat text on a screen, which is then broadcast to thousands of strangers who have no idea who you are or what your intent was. A joke between friends is a private ecosystem. When you drag it into the public square, it gets treated like a political statement. We have started applying the rules of public, online discourse to our private, offline relationships. And that is a recipe for absolute paranoia.
It really is. It makes people retreat into safe, boring conversations. We talk about the weather, we talk about work, but we avoid the playful friction that makes socializing fun. Friction is necessary. It is how we test boundaries and it is how we grow. Without it, everything just becomes incredibly dull. Speaking of things that refuse to be dull, we actually have a sponsor today who is definitely not interested in keeping things safe and sanitized.
Tired of spineless corporate media kissing the same boots? Welcome to the New Sentinel, where we actually roast sacred cows and tell the truth without a permission slip. Smash that play button, drop your hottest take in the comments, share it with your normie friends, and post your burning question. The best inquiries get answered on air. Be a sentinel, not a sheep. Subscribe, comment, share, inquire. The New Sentinel. Truth with teeth.
Truth with teeth, indeed. And honestly, that is what we are missing. We need a bit of teeth in our daily lives. Not to bite each other, but to show we are alive. When did we decide that being offended was the worst thing that could happen to us? It seems like we have elevated discomfort to the level of actual harm.
We have conflated psychological discomfort with physical danger. If a joke makes you uncomfortable, it is often because it touched on a truth you are not ready to face, or it challenged a belief you take too seriously. Comedy is supposed to be a safe space to play with dangerous ideas. When you make the comedy space too safe, the dangerous ideas do not go away. They just go underground, where they ferment and become actual toxicity. A good laugh acts as a pressure release valve for society. If you weld that valve shut, the pressure just keeps building.
That pressure release valve analogy is spot on. If you look at history, court jesters were the only ones allowed to tell the king the truth, precisely because they did it through humor. If the jester could not make a joke about the king being greedy, the king would never hear the truth. Today we have fired the jesters, and now everyone is trying to act like the king, demanding absolute deference and execution for anyone who makes them look ridiculous.
And the irony is, the people who demand the most protection from jokes are often the ones who need to laugh at themselves the most. Self-deprecation is a superpower. If you can laugh at your own shortcomings, no one can ever use them against you. You become bulletproof. But when you build your entire identity on being flawless and morally superior, any joke feels like an existential threat to your brand.
It is the ultimate fragility. It makes me wonder about the long-term impact on the younger generation. If you grow up in an environment where you are never teased, never roasted, and never forced to develop a thick skin, how do you handle the actual non-funny hardships of life? The world is not going to accommodate your sensitivity.
You do not handle it. You break. Roasting is training wheels for conflict resolution. It teaches you how to take a hit, process it, realize you are still alive and still loved, and then laugh it off. It builds emotional resilience. If we raise a generation that has never had to laugh off a joke at their expense, we are raising a generation that will view any form of disagreement as an act of violence. We are trading resilience for a fragile peace that shatters at the slightest breeze.
So how do we reverse the trend? How do we bring back the roast without turning into jerks? Because there is a line, right? There is a difference between a loving roast and just being mean-spirited.
The difference is simple, and it goes back to what we said earlier, relationship and intent. A roast is a gift wrapped in a challenge. The intent is to bring the person closer, to share a moment of mutual recognition of our shared absurdity. Bullying is designed to push someone out, to make them feel small and isolated. If the room is laughing with you, even if the joke is at your expense, you are included. If they are laughing at you to exclude you, that is where the line is crossed. We do not need to lose our empathy. We just need to regain our sense of humor.
It requires us to pay attention to the context and the person, which takes effort. It is much easier to just ban all jokes and implement a blanket policy of polite silence. But that effort is what makes life rich.
Exactly. It requires emotional intelligence. Instead of relying on a checklist of forbidden words, we should rely on our understanding of the people we are talking to. We need to trust ourselves and our friends enough to navigate the gray areas.
It seems the path forward is actually quite simple. It starts with the people we love. The next time you are out with your friends, leave the professional filters at the door. Let down your guard. Point out the ridiculous thing your friend just said, and let them point out yours.
Let us start embracing the friction again. Let us celebrate the flaws, the mistakes, and the absolute absurdity of being human. Because at the end of the day, if we cannot laugh at ourselves, We are leaving the comedy to the universe. And trust me, the universe has a much darker sense of humor than your friends do. Let us keep the laughter close to home, where it belongs, wrapped in affection and delivered with a healthy dose of sarcasm.